We're joined, as we are most Mondays, by Ann Coulter, the best-selling author. Her latest New York Times bestseller is Resistance is Futile. Ann, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Good to be here, Howie.
Well, I don't know if you've heard the latest Senator Mazie Hirono from Hawaii wants an FBI investigation as to whether or not Brett Kavanaugh was a very belligerent drunk. So, did you know belligerence was a crime, Ann?
Well, I'm just concerned. I want them to get into the farting jokes. Yeah. Someone else has called for that. I think it was Hillary Clinton, actually. No, this is so crazy, particularly considering what their record is when they go after what the left deems white frat boys. You have Duke LaCrosse. You have the Rolling Stone story about UVA. We had Mattress Girl at Columbia. There were the Halliburton louts in Iraq who allegedly gang raped Jamie Lee Jones and put her in a shipping container. All of these were 100% believed by Democrats. They brought in Jamie Lee Jones to the Senate and passed a law in her honor. She was on, Good Morning America, believed every place she went by the Democrats and the media. I can't think of one where it was actually true. They have a very bad record on this. Now it's down to groping, an allegation of groping with no corroborating witnesses. The witnesses, the accuser named, all deny being there,
right.
deny there being such a party, so they have to get into the farting jokes and anytime he ever drank beer.
Have you seen the picture of Sheldon Whitehouse on the internet, and he's asking the question, did you or did you not fart in high school?
Yes, I think Brett Kavanaugh wins the award for best trolling of liberals.
Yeah, but Ann, though, I've been saying all day, this is really moving in the same direction as the Russia probe, because there is no more Russia in the Russia probe,
right?
And the groping is going away. Now we're coming into did he lie to the Senate when he just said he liked beer when he loved beer? And now we're even moving on. Now we're even moving on beyond that to he stands charged with being belligerent.
And all this from a party that defended a rapist, Bill Clinton, while he was governor. Not even back when he was 15 years old, based on a recovered memory. As governor, whipping it out to Paula Jones, and currently, to have this going on simultaneously with Keith Ellison, a Democrat member of Congress. His mistress, who called 911 at the time, claiming that he beat her, and wow, not a peep about that.
Yeah. I know, and
some women do not deserve to be believed.
And what about the charges against Senator Robert Menendez of New Jersey? And I'm not talking about the corruption charges. I'm talking about the charges in the Daily Caller a couple of years ago about what he was doing down on those Dominican vacations that the ophthalmologist from West Palm was providing for him gratis in return for bringing his mistresses into the country with green cards.
Yes, that much I think is admitted. The only thing that was disputed was the prostitutes and the child sex. But as for bringing his mistresses down, although the media may not care, but it's starting to look like the voters may care. An incumbent ought to win, especially a Democrat in a very liberal state like New Jersey, but I just saw some polls showing his Republican opponent is in a dead heat with him. Now, he may end up winning in the end, but that's quite a statement to have an incumbent Democrat in New Hampshire.
New Jersey.
New Jersey, even having to think about his reelection.
Right. So today, and you saw the president at the trade press conference. Of course, they weren't interested in trade.
Great.
Yeah, they just wanted to. And you were just watching it to see the first question would not be about trade or about this great victory. It would be about Brett Kavanaugh's how many beers he had at the keg party at Deke House in 1983. But
so, I'm actually glad it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But he says so. Then Trump says, and you watch the thing. He says, I've seen some Democrat senators in some pretty compromising positions.
Yes.
When they get a bad ice cube, and so now the left is saying, is he trying to blackmail our esteemed lawmakers? They're angry that he points out.
I'm really glad they did ask Trump about Kavanaugh. I was thinking of tweeting out, but I was busy. I hope Republicans are watching. This is how it's done. I was so happy when he turned it back on the Democrats. And when asked for specifics, he gave specifics. He gave specifics about, my illustrious senator from Connecticut, Senator Blumenthal, lying about his Vietnam service for years, and Di-Fi holding this woman's account for what, 2 months? That's
right.
How seriously she took it. He actually went through these scandals involving the Democrats, and that is what the Republicans should do every time, turn it right back on these guys, because what they have done, oh my gosh, if only the worst they could be accused of is a recovered memory 36 years later that they groped a girl at 15 years old.
But this is another thing the press says, why is he so obsessed with the fact that Richard Blumenthal told a few white lies about his Vietnam service?
Oh!
I mean,
again... A few white lies, oh my gosh, going on and on about his service and then nailed dead to rights. It was only because... one of my favorite bet noirs, Republican consultants, that Blumenthal even won that election. He collapsed in the polls, but unfortunately, Republican consultants kept running the wrestling lady, and God bless her, but she was never going to win in a state
Linda
like
McMahon.
Connecticut. I kept her. Yeah, and I'm not blaming her. I'm blaming the Republican consultants who lied to her and said, oh, yeah, sure you can win. Just write us another check. No, they look at the deep-pocketed candidates, potential candidates. They don't care if Republicans win or lose. They just want the money. So they run her one time. She loses. I keep warning, Connecticut is never going to go for the wrestling lady. Please run, what's his name? We had a really great, Rob Simmons. Rob Simmons was a fantastic candidate. I won't go through the whole thing, but I kept saying, please, Republicans, he has everything. He just doesn't have the deep pockets. But as Trump proved, you don't need to spend money to win. You need to be a good candidate with the right issues. Blumenthal wouldn't have even won.
You know what gets me about these people, though, and I couldn't believe when I saw where he was going with it last week when Blumenthal was questioning Kavanaugh, and he threw out that Latin expression, false in one thing, false in all. And I thought to myself, if I had Blumenthal's record, that's the last thing in the world I would ever mention, even if somebody had a gun to my head. Doesn't he have any self-realization of where he stands? No, but he knows he's not going to be criticized by anybody except people like you and me.
No, that's the realization that Democrats have. They know they have the media, and they can get away with anything. Can you imagine? I mean, a Republican, if you don't care about politics, you don't care about policy, or that's just not important to you. You have to vote Republican just for clean government, just for honest politicians, because even if Republicans wanted to be swine, liars, dirtbags, domestic abusers, rapists, even if they wanted to and they had it in their hearts, I'm not saying they're necessarily, better people, but they couldn't get away with it, whereas Democrats get away with all these things.
Yeah. I know. That was the most breathtaking part of that whole exchange with Kavanaugh. That the guy would say something like that, knowing that nobody was going to on his side of the aisle was going to say, maybe this is a bridge too far, Mr. War Hero, Senator. Listen, how about that? Let me run this one off. This is a professor at Georgetown. Did you see this one? A woman named Christine Fair.
Just saw that one.
Look at this chorus of entitled white men. She's talking about the 11 Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee justifying a serial rapist's arrogated entitlement. All of them deserve miserable deaths while feminists laugh as they take their last gasps. Bonus. We castrate their corpses and feed them to swine. Yes.
Yes, typical professor these days. And since I didn't discuss it last week, I think I'll mention my column from last week. This madness, god-awful, trite, hackneyed cliche about white men. They just have to throw out the white men thing as if white is an evil intensifier. But it's particularly inapt in the context of, we can't have white men questioning a sexual assault survivor, as they call it. As those of you who have read Adios America know, or you might just know from a basic understanding of how the world works, there has never been a more pacific, less rapey creature that has walked the face of the earth than white men of European descent, West European descent. The rest of the world is just chock-a-block with child rape, child sex slavery, Indians buying their little girls from their poverty-stricken parents and bringing them to America as sex slaves, as I wrote about in Adios America. And yet we have to pretend like, the big rapists, that's John Cornyn and Chuck Grassley. Whoa, can't have them asking questions.
Yeah, I know. Did you see, by the way, Maria Shriver, did you see her tweet last week? We've mentioned this a couple of times on the show, but I want to get your sounding off on it. She said Lindsey Graham yelling about the woman maybe not telling the whole truth, Christine Blasey Ford. She said, what could be more terrifying than a woman than that? And someone tweeted back, I just talked to my wife, and she said being left to drown in a car like your uncle did to Mary Jo Kopechne would probably be a little more terrifying than being yelled at by Lindsey Graham.
They have no shame.
They don't.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. It's horrible.
And Joe Kennedy.
It really is horrible, the things Kennedy and Clinton did. Okay, you can care about rape or not care about rape. I happen to think it's a serious crime, but you can't pretend to care about rape and misogyny while you're defending Bill Clinton, Teddy Kennedy, and pretending that you're utterly unfamiliar with rape statistics and don't know that white men are the least rapey we've ever had.
Right. And how about Joe Kennedy, the third, my congressman? He tweeted out the week before, he said, well, the reason women don't come forward after sex attacks is because they're not treated they're not treated with respect like Donald Trump does. And this is a guy whose uncle, Michael Kennedy, he raped his 14-year-old babysitter, and he was never prosecuted because she wouldn't step forward. Who is a Kennedy to be calling anyone out on mistreating survivors of sex abuse? How about his cousin Willie Smith? How many women has he been accused of raping?
I was just going to mention that one. The New York Times, in an editorial, used the exact same line and cited as their example of how badly women are treated when they accuse someone of rape. They cited, through links, their own treatment of the rape victim of William Kennedy Smith. You guys treated her pretty horribly.
And Coulter, what's the name of your new book?
Resistance is Futile, How the Trump-Hating Left Lost Its Collective Mind.
Excellent. Talk to you next week, Ann. Thanks for calling in.
Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.